right, we've got breaking news coming in. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi has given his latest interview here. Is this his game on moment here? He spoke and he said that the Congress is confident of the Congress forming the next government, and he also said that they are willing to form alliances with like-minded parties. Let's listen in. So is this Rahul's game on moment? His latest interview has come out. He said that he will be willing to speak to other parties as the Congress tries to shore up its alliance here. He also said that Rahul Gandhi, that they will work with like-minded parties and that the Congress is not an underdog for this for the current Lok Sabha elections at this point. He is confident that the UPA will form the government once again, and that the party is ready to work with like-minded parties. Rahul Gandhi's latest interview is out. Remember, his recent interview to a television channel had opened up the Congress Vice President to a lot of criticism here. Has the Congress Vice President finally upped his game here and taken the fight to Narendra Modi? That remains to be seen here. But some key news points which are coming out of this is that the Congress is not an underdog, according to Rahul Gandhi, and the fact that the UPA will form the government, again, of that he is extremely confident. All right, I'm being joined by our executive editor, Kartikeya Sharma, who's with me right now. Kartikeya, take us through what all Rahul Gandhi said in that important interview.
You see, it's an interview which has been given to a leading wire service, and Rahul Gandhi says that UPA 3 will come to power. Rahul Gandhi in his interview says that UPA is not an underdog. Rahul Gandhi says that he is likely to work with the parties, like-minded parties, and it's not that everything has come to an end. You know, what's the important takeaway here is that instead of speaking to another TV channel, Rahul Gandhi has decided to speak to the print. Because last time when he gave an interview to the TV channel, the format, the way he spoke, the sort of words which were used, the time, the length, everything was questioned. But this time around, I think they have taken a different path. He has again spoken, but to a wire service. And the sort of news which is pouring in is that the Rahul Gandhi refuses to, Rahul Gandhi is trying to put this point across that it's not an end of the road for the Congress party. Congress is in the game. It's very much in the fighting. And he says that there are certain parties with which the Congress is going to work with, but they are going to work with like-minded parties. And I think that's the most important point. Secondly, Rahul Gandhi is also of the view that, it's not that Congress is the underdog, the point he's trying to make is that, probably, it's the alpha male there, when it comes to the election context. And lastly, Rahul Gandhi, the news which is also pouring in is that that they will be looking for newer faces, newer alliance partners, but in a paced manner. There is nothing frantic about it, and if you look at, because this news was given to a wire service, which everyone is accessing, I think Rahul is again trying to break that image persona that, he's an inaccessible politician, he doesn't give interviews. Right. But the only difference this time is that instead of speaking to a TV channel, Rahul has decided to speak to a wire service.
Now, Kartika, two news points coming out to my mind. One is the statement that Rahul Gandhi said that Congress is not an underdog, clearly aimed at minimizing the damage caused by P. Chidambaram's statement yesterday in which he had called the Congress party an underdog, clearly saying that the party has not lost hope yet. Secondly, the fact that he is going to look out at like-minded parties. Clearly, Rahul Gandhi seems to be unnerved with the fact that Narendra Modi is getting a lot of acceptability recently, and he now has to reach out and also get a number of new players into the fold, given the fact that UPA 2 has shrunk a lot in the last 5 years.
You see, there are a couple of points which we have just accessed. We'll make it to the our viewers. One, Rahul Gandhi says that, I think certainly you could have been more aggressive in conveying our achievements. I'm quoting Rahul Gandhi verbatim. As I said, we have done transformatory work. We could always be better in communication. So Rahul Gandhi, I think, accepts what PC Chako has said in Kerala yesterday. Then he also rubbished the claim that Congress was losing allies. And then when he was asked, Rahul Gandhi, to do business with TMC and DMK again, Rahul Gandhi is of the view, and I quote Rahul Gandhi verbatim, we are always willing to work with people who share our ideology and political philosophy, who are determined to fight sectarian and communal forces that seek to divide India for narrow political gains. It's a direct attack on Bharatiya Janata Party. Rahul Gandhi says that we are always willing to work with people who share our ideology and political philosophy, who are determined to fight sectarian and communal forces that seek to divide India for narrow political gains. Then, Rahul Gandhi also says that contending that his power was being overestimated. Rahul feels that people think he's very powerful, and he feels that there are certain decisions which are not under his control. So Rahul Gandhi's narrative continues, that it's not, he's in that Indira Gandhi's mold. Then Rahul Gandhi also has a view on Lokpal, which is very important.
Okay.
He says, I had a different view from senior members of the party and I was overruled. Rahul Gandhi says that he had a different view on the issue of Lokpal and he was overruled. So the question is, who overruled Rahul Gandhi? And he goes on to say that another instance cited by him pertained to the ordinance. And Rahul Gandhi says, then I took the step of making my views public, which we already know.
Yes.
Which means that even on the Lokpal issue, Rahul Gandhi feels that he was overruled. And then he goes on to say, then he also addressed the issue of Dr. Manmohan Singh. He says that the issue while Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was in the US, he says in hindsight it could have been done in a better way. Indeed. So Mr. Gandhi accepts the fact that there were certain protocol issues which were not taken care of. Then he also says that the system needed to move away from the concentration of power that he was going to take on the system. He understands that there is a perception. And he also goes on to say those who want to reform the system are often people who revolt against the very system they are part of. He says we opened up Youth Congress and NSUI to elections and are holding primaries in 15 Lok Sabha seats. So he has addressed the issue of RTI, he has addressed the issue of opposition, he has addressed the issue of campaign, and he says that the Congress campaign leaders who are asked about his lack of interest in parliament, and I think that's a very relevant point because Rahul Gandhi has always been accused of not showing enough interest in parliamentary work.
Precisely.
He says that you have asked no questions, brought no private members bill and participated in just 2 debates. He responded by saying that he did not look at participation in parliament in those terms. So, there are a lot of issues which Rahul Gandhi has responded to in this interview. And I think the biggest takeaway here is that Rahul Gandhi feels that there is a communication problem in the government.
Absolutely, and it's a communication problem which extends both ways, because not only was Rahul Gandhi unaware of the protocol apparently which had to be followed when he came up with his ordinance against criminal netas, apparently there's also a communication problem in the sense the government did not convey its grievances to Rahul Gandhi, which is why Rahul still feels that he was overruled when it comes to the Lokpal.
Oh yes, Rahul feels that he was overcome, and I think Rahul also goes on to say here, when reminded that the party's highest decision-making body, the Congress Working Committee, was a nominated one, and no elections had been held to it for a long, despite its crusade for inter-party democracy, Gandhi says 100% that CWC should be an elected body, and he was working towards that. I think that's a big breaking. I think that's a big breaking news. Rahul Gandhi saying that there should be elections for Congress Working Committee. And Rahul Gandhi saying that he is working to ensure that there are elections for the Congress Working Committee. The last time Congress Working Committee went for elections was when Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister.
Exactly.
And Sharad Pawar was the challenger. And Narasimha Rao won the elections. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. Because only it was after that, when the next election took place, it was Jitendra Prasad who had challenged Sonia Gandhi and lost the elections to her.
Precisely.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway, Rahul Gandhi indicating that he would ideally want elections for Congress Working Committee, because if you have elections for Congress Working Committee, it means that even the Congress presidents get elected, not nominated.
Precisely.
Not like a hereditary system. So I think that's the biggest takeaway in that context. But there are certain issues which are which have not come. We are sure that certain other issues will also get highlighted, because Rahul is saying that he doesn't believe in these opinion polls, and he says that Congress was going to prove them wrong. So I think he's trying to address these issues. But the fact of the matter is that these are things which he has been saying in bits and pieces. I think it's a collation of those things which Rahul had in mind and is coming together in bits and pieces, because the biggest criticism of his first and the previous interview was that Rahul Gandhi was not going beyond Panchayati Raj, democratization process. And I think the takeaway of this third interview, or the second print interview, is that Mr. Gandhi has spoken about number of things and given his opinions from opinion polls, from CWC, from elections in the Congress party, to the Prime Minister, to the issue of ordinance. Lack of communication problem. So I think these are very relevant issues. And Mr. Gandhi was also asked that, it's not where I come from, but what I work for. And does being an insider, as you define me, take away from me the right to disagree or fight for a change? So I think it's a clear signal to a lot of insiders, and to put it bluntly, seniors, that the man will stay his course. One can differ with him in terms of what the changes he's trying to bring about will do to the system. But I think that the sense I get from the interview, or the first part of the interview which has been released, that he intends to stay the course, and Congress party is going to witness changes which will be deep, which will have a strong impact on the whole organizational structure, and perhaps will have a long-lasting impact on the party itself.
Karthika, as you pointed out, the biggest, most intriguing aspect that's coming out of this interview is when Rahul Gandhi said that he was overruled on certain aspects by certain people within the party over Lokpal. It's this entire gap between him and the Congress and the Congress top brass, or the Congress senior leadership, which has been seen in the recent weeks here. When Jagdambika Pal quit, the official reason he cited was that he did not find his place clear in the new style of functioning here. We have seen senior leaders like PC Chako not being very confident in fighting their Lok Sabha battles for 2014. We have seen P. Chidambaram coming and making a statement which has been very embarrassing for Rahul Gandhi, because he came and made a direct or contrary statement to that. Chidambaram said that the Congress is an underdog for 2014. Is there a huge mismatch or communication gap between Rahul Gandhi and the top leadership here, and is that going to be one of the excuses which perhaps the Congress party will give up if it does not perform well in the 2014 elections?
You see, Rahul admits, you use the word Chidambaram. In the interview he says, acknowledging that after 10 years in power, there is a certain amount of anti-incumbency against us. And he disagreed with senior party leader, Finance Minister Chidambaram's view that party was an underdog and faced an uphill task. So, Rahul Gandhi has publicly snubbed the second person in command, or publicly snubbed the man who's in charge of the government after Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Yeah. So, and he says that, it's not a fact that we are an underdog. Rahul goes on to say that there is an incumbency and these issues can be dealt with. So, for the first time I can say that Rahul, on certain political issues which have an immediate impact on public discourse, he has addressed mostly all of that, because the first cachet is out, and I think another cachet will delve into other issues. But the first cachet addresses the fact that the man will stay the course. Second, he's trying to say that there are other influences in the party which dominate him, and there have been times where he has not been able to address the issues, and he goes on to say that he was overruled when it came to the Lokpal. Indeed. But he tried to change the course by making his objection public when it came to the bill, the amendment bill, because of which there was a complete public outrage, the ordinance. So, he has addressed all those issues. But then he also goes on to say that, the sort of work which the Congress party has done has been transformative. But then there is an issue of communication. And I think this has been a recurring feeling for a lot of congressmen who feel that the sort of work they have done has not been properly highlighted by the government or by the party in a sustained manner, and ultimately hence failed to counter Narendra Modi's attack on development, governance, issue of transparency. So I think it's a very serious issue.
Indeed, indeed. And Karthika, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that we have Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha joining me on the phone line. Mr. Jha, thank you for taking time out for NewsX here. Your response to what Rahul Gandhi said, the first takeaway that there's a clear lack of communication between Rahul Gandhi and senior leaders of the Congress.
Well, all I can tell you very clearly is that Mr. Gandhi has stated what we have been saying all along, and I'm glad that Mr. Gandhi has sent out a message loud and clear that the Congress party-led UPA will form the government in 2009, and the fact that we believe that when the people get to know during the campaign even further details about how we have made a difference to India through all our programs, especially that have improved the marginalized sections of society. I think the Congress-led UP will be back in government in June of 2014.
Sanjay, if I can just intervene, Karthike here, Sanjay. The question I would really like to ask you is that Mr. Gandhi, in the interview he had given to the wire service, he has very categorically said that he would like the elections to be held for the Congress Working Committee.
Right.
Is it possible?
Well, let me tell you very clearly. You have here a leader from the Congress party who has brought in already a remarkable change, both in the NSUI as well as the Indian Youth Congress. And very often people ask him this question as to when are you going to bring about, the democratization process in the larger Congress party itself. And here you're getting a very, very honest, candid answer. And that goes to tell you that Mr. Gandhi is pushing for a very, very structural reform, a process of, greater transparency and, a process whereby whoever believes they're worthy of being in the senior, echelons of the Congress party can truly go ahead and contest an election. I mean, this should be welcomed as the sign of a leader who's challenged the very things that he has been questioned for.
But then, Sanjay, there is one more very interesting thing which he said in the interview. I'm 100% sure that you must have also got the copy. He says that, he gets overruled. He says that, he had a different opinion in Lokpal, he got overruled. In political parties, buck always stops with the top man, The top guy can never say that, he got overruled.
So, Karthikeyan, I'm glad, that you're asking me that question. But when Mr. Gandhi says that, what do you take away from it? And, the whole assumption, this notion which has been in people's heads that, Congress is not, a high command where just one or two people call the shots is totally unfounded. Mr. Gandhi has been saying that repeatedly. In fact, I've been in a couple of press meets where he's been there, but he's shared it with the media. And he said that, it's a democratic party. There are very senior leaders in the party. By the way, I think the Congress has some of the most experienced veteran leaders who have worked with the party and for the country for years and years. Now, as a young leader of the party who's trying to bring about a reform, he has to carry the entire team to that. He's being frank to tell you that in some areas he gets a very strong support. In some areas it gets majority support. In some areas these things need to be debated over a period of time. It doesn't mean that people overrule you permanently. It means there are some discussions which are work in progress.
But then, Rahul Gandhi, Sanjay, Rahul Gandhi does admit that now he admits after 2 or 3 months that the issue of ordnance could have been handled differently. And, I would like to quote him verbatim, in hindsight, that it could have been done in a better way. He does admit that, a certain protocol was violated, and the question was, just for you, in a reference to the controversy triggered by his going public aggressively on the issue with the Prime Minister. Manmohan Singh was in the US, the Gandhi scene acknowledged that in hindsight it could have been done in a better way. Media had actually taken up that issue. There were protocols involved, Sanjay, because it had to do with the collective wisdom of the cabinet and the Prime Minister, and he had torn the ordinance apart, and he now admits that probably, the way could have been different.
Well, I can tell you, Karthikeyan, that, Mr. Gandhi has not said this for the first time. In fact, even if you remember...
And he now admits that probably, the way could have been different.
Well, I can tell you, Karthikeyan, that, Mr. Gandhi has not said this for the first time. In fact, even if you remember, when he said that the ordinance ought to be trashed, he said at that point, that's my personal opinion. And he's been very honest enough to tell that, listen, I know I did something which was unconventional, because that's perhaps not the way, a lot of people would have expected it to be done in a public platform. But the bottom line is different. The bottom line is, and this is what we need to look at, if it wasn't for Mr. Gandhi's intervention, no matter how much you may, he himself says that perhaps maybe the method wasn't right. But the truth is, thanks to his effort, because a lot of political parties were actually favoring the ordinance going through, he trashed it. He went against his party. He went against his government. The government, in his wisdom, decided to withdraw the ordinance. And because Mr. Gandhi needs to be given singular credit for ensuring that today, convicted criminals in politics will not have a place, whether it's corruption or whether it's criminality.
But
so
Sanjay,
I think the bottom line is Mr. Gandhi
really,
is
just to take it to a different subject, we get the point, the elections which took place in Gujarat, the sort of line which Mr. Gandhi has taken is very different, you know. It's like, the gaze have been shifted. I remember in Gujarat Assembly elections, there was not a direct word which your party used against Narendra Modi. I still remember the first press conference which took place there by your very senior leaders. It was about the so many number of apartments which will be distributed now. There was not a single word, Sanjay, on the riots which took place in 2002, the people who died, and his failure to say, sorry, now Rahul Gandhi, banned 30 days before the elections, there's a change of gear, and he says there should be legal accountability for inexcusable failure. He goes on to say the SIT report giving clean chit to Modi has been seriously questioned by a number of credible experts. You know, a report on Godhra has gone missing. Sanjay, your government was in power for 10 years, you know. There's a report which goes missing. You know, it comes to light by a bureaucrat. You know, you have not been able to appoint a judge to investigate Stoopgate. You know, these words really sound hollow when he says it has been questioned by credible experts. It's inexcusable failure. You have not been able to appoint a judge to investigate a plight of a woman, as your party said, who was harassed by the Gujarat government. Why?
Karthikeyan, let me answer that.
And I'm quoting Mr. Gandhi verbatim, you know, you understand that. I'm quoting Mr. Gandhi verbatim.
Well, I'm answering that.
All right, Sanjay, Sanjay, I request you to please stay on with us. We also have Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, who is joining us from the BJP. Mr. Rao, I'm sure you have been seeing excerpts of what Rahul Gandhi gave in that interview to a leading wire service. Your first response to what has been the big takeaway from this interview?
I think whatever I have seen of it, I think Congress party, Rahul Gandhi yesterday said this, and today also he's repeating that the Congress party is going to win the 2014 election. And I think this is something I think he himself is not really convinced about. But the spate of opinion polls which have really predicted a rout for the Congress party have had a phenomenal, I think, effect on the Congress party and its leadership. And most party leaders are running away from battlefield. None of the ministers are willing to fight elections. And if you see the statements of P.C. Chako yesterday and Chidambaram today, they themselves acknowledged that the Congress party is really facing a severe backlash. They're really fighting against the tide of public opinion against the Congress. I think against this background, I think Rahul Gandhi is trying to put up a show of confidence by claiming that they're going to retain or they're going to win a substantial number of seats. But the reality is that the most leaders of the party are themselves unwilling to contest. The top leaders of the party, all the ministers, be it the Finance Minister Chidambaram, A.K. Anthony, and all the senior ministers, be it Sibal, be it Manish Tiwari.
All right, Mr. Rao, please stay on with us. We are also being joined by senior Samajwadi Party leader Naresh Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, thank you for speaking to NewsX here. Do you buy Mr. Rahul Gandhi's defense that when on certain issues like the Lokpal bill, he himself has been overruled by his party leadership? Mr. Agarwal, can you hear me? Mr. Agarwal, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? All right, we seem to have lost Mr. Naresh Agarwal. Let's go across to Mr. Manoj Jha, is also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Jha, your first reaction to what Rahul Gandhi has said in that interview. All right, we seem to be getting some slight connection problems connecting our phone lines. But Mr. Narasimha Rao, I hope you are still with us here. Do you buy that argument that Rahul Gandhi says that on Lokpal he was overruled by his own party leadership? Because there is a line of argument which believes that there's nobody more powerful than Rahul Gandhi within the Congress at this point.
You see, it is the family that it's a dynasty-controlled party. After Sonia Gandhi, her son Rahul Gandhi is obviously the most powerful man. I think they preside over the party as president and vice president. So it's really ironical. And any wish of Rahul Gandhi sort of becomes a command for the government and for the Prime Minister. So you can understand the kind of clout that Rahul Gandhi and why Rahul Gandhi, even the entire family, enjoys in the government. So it's really difficult to believe what he says. One possibility is that for 4.5 years, they never realized the kind of the misgovernance that they have given, the kind of the tide of public opinion that is building against them. And in the last 6 months, Rahul Gandhi has tried to really put up a show, trying to sort of separate him from the negatives of the government, and they have not succeeded in that also. I think if you recall, he's torn the papers, the ordinance papers after the Supreme Court judgment preventing corrupt leaders.
Mr. Narasimhan, if I can just stop you for a minute, we would like to elicit your reaction on Rahul Gandhi's statement on Gujarat riots. He says that there should be legal accountability for inexcusable failure of governance during 2002 riots under Narendra Modi. And he also goes on to say the SIT report giving clean chit to Modi has been seriously questioned by a number of credible experts. So Rahul Gandhi is debunking the SIT report. He says that report is flawed.
Yeah, I think Rahul Gandhi also today wants to become. Wants to sit in he wants to sit in judgment on every single issue. So there is a legal system that prevails here. There is a Supreme Court appointed SIT which had given a clean chit, and the matter had subsequently, the Supreme Court had referred the matter to the lower court, and the lower court had upheld this SIT report. So Congress party, despite its propaganda against Mr. Narendra Modi over the last 12 years and using a whole lot of activists to run a calumny campaign against him, they've simply failed because the truth is there was no truth in the campaign that they ran. So I think if one has to, obviously, the kind of public scrutiny, the legal scrutiny that Gujarat government has gone through, possibly no other government in independent India had ever undergone that kind of scrutiny. I think look at...
All right, Mr. Narasimha Rao, I request you to stay on with us. I'm being told Manoj Jha from the RJD is with us on the phone line. Mr. Jha, what do you feel when Rahul Gandhi says that they will be looking at alliance partners with like-minded secular parties?
I think that there are a couple of other points I think we need to inform our viewers. Indeed. And the point have come on the issue that, Rahul Gandhi says that I entered politics because of the infinite love and affection I have shared with the nation. There is no possible outcome of this or any future elections that can make any difference to these sentiments. And he says I entered active politics in 2004 when the Congress was written off. I did not join the party when it was in power.
Right.
So, he says that, I will... he has a comment on media. He says that, media is in the habit of, scorecarding me on every occasion. And he says that I measure myself on how much voice we have been able to give the people of India through devolved structures of Congress party. And I will evaluate my own success and failures on different scale and time horizon. So, I think, the sense I get is that one, the man is unfazed by the sort of criticism he has been, dealt with. He is unfazed in terms of, he feels that the Congress is in a very strong wicket.
Absolutely.
He is not bothered by the sort of, the issues which have piled up on the organization and the government and the sort of role he has played. When he was asked, this issue which we were discussing, his participation in the parliament, he says that he has played an active role in formulating legislative agenda and publicly fought for legislations like Acquisition Bill, Lokpal Bill, protection of livelihood of street vendors, RTM, Manrega and food security. But I think somewhere down the line, Rahul has played a very important backroom role in formulating these bills like land acquisition. But I think he has tried to avoid the question because ultimately parliamentarians are also known for their contribution in parliament. The biggest criticism of Arvind Kejriwal has been that, the sort of work he did in the assembly was pitiable.
All right, Karthikeya, on that note, I've been told that Meenakshi, reactions have already started coming in. In fact, BJP spokesperson Meenakshi Lekhi has just commented. Let's listen in.
एजेंडा है जिसके पास कुछ नहीं बचा उसके पास ये एजेंडा है वो अपने एजेंडा पे चलते रहे देश अपने एजेंडा पे आज कायम है और भारत की जनता भारत की गौरवान्वित जनता ने निर्णय लिया है कि वो गौरवान्वित भारत का भविष्य एक किसी सक्षम व्यक्ति के हाथ में देगी जिसका नाम नरेंद्र मोदी है और जिन लोगों ने गैर जिम्मेदारी से भारत के साथ व्यवस्थाओं में काम किया है उनको वापसी नहीं मिलने वाली।
उन्होंने आह्वान किया कि देश के सभी ऐसे दल जो कांग्रेस की विचारधारा से मेल खाती है वो हमारे दल में आए।
जो भ्रष्ट लोग हैं वो उनके साथ जाएं, उसका अंडरलाइन ये है।
So, I think the bottom line is, a lot of reactions will come in, but I think what Rahul is trying to do, because his interview is important, but why at this point of time? I think he's trying to set the agenda gradually next, in alternate week or, 10 days or so that these issues will catch momentum. And I think this is the reason why he has touched upon a number of subjects. But then what is surprising is that the issue of, again, Robert Vadra is not here in the interview.
Indeed. And on that note, let's go across to Kumar Shakti Shekhar, who's joining us live with more details. Kumar, clearly, what are your sources telling us how Rahul Gandhi's statement has been perceived by the Congress camp?
Yeah, basically it is a statement to put in the dock the BJP's Prime Ministerial candidate Narendra Modi and to demoralize him and his cadre and the BJP cadre, and also to rejuvenate the Congress cadre. The Congress knows at the moment that the Congress cadre is quite demoralized. So these statements, the attack on Narendra Modi, personal attack on Narendra Modi, is to rejuvenate the party cadre, the Congress cadre. Back to you.
Indeed, absolutely. And Karthikeya, what do we make of the statement that the Congress is now going to reach out to like-minded parties here? Is it an acceptance of the fact that the Congress is lagging behind the BJP severely when it comes to the game of hunting for new allies? It's lost a number of potential allies in the past 5 years, and it seems to be gaining very little.
You see, if you look at the semantics, if we just go by these semantics, the basic structure of the interview here, he has taken Narendra Modi head on.
Absolutely.
He says that, SIT is hogwash, it doesn't make sense. He says there are alternative versions to it. I think that's a very strong attack on Narendra Modi. And he goes on to say that there are alternate versions. So he's going to reignite that issue on which the Ministry of Minority Affairs has actually filed an inquiry. That where is that report on Gujarat riots on which the President's rule was advised to the government. Now Tarlochan Singh had said that, the report was by the commission, but that the dissent note was not there. So I think he has reignited the debate. Another issue on which the Rahul Gandhi will generate the debate is when he goes on to say that internally it's going to have wider ramifications. You see, you have to look at this interview in terms of the message he is going to give his own cadre. He is saying that there is going to be a election for the Congress Working Committee.
Indeed.
This was something which was being opposed by a lot of people. People think that this is unworkable. So I think the man has his own view and he is going to sit pretty on them. And thirdly, which I would say the other takeaway is that, he has publicly snubbed Chidambaram.
Absolutely.
He has publicly snubbed P. Chidambaram, the finance minister. And he goes on to say, I completely disagree, we're not the underdogs. So I think it's a clear signal to a lot of people, the sort of vision he has for the Congress party, and he intends to stay the course.
But there has been one criticism. There is no concrete vision which he has underlined. Even if you look at this interview, a lot of people can argue that it's just the same, it's old wine and new bottle when it comes to Rahul Gandhi, more inner party democracy, do away with dynasty politics here, greater transparency within the party functioners, greater communication. But at the same time, he accepts that there's a lack of communication even within the Congress party and within the UPA government here. If there's no communication between Rahul Gandhi and his party leaders, how can we expect communication within the Congress, within the government itself, or within the Congress party on a larger scale?
I think there are two things simultaneously which are happening. I think there is an element of damage control also. You see, the last interview was a complete fiasco.
Absolutely.
It was a complete fiasco. There was a problem of the format. There was a problem of the time. And everyone knows that, Rahul Gandhi got actively criticized in social media. And you see, the last interview was a complete fiasco.
Absolutely.
It was a complete fiasco. There was a problem of the format. There was a problem of the time. And everyone knows that, Rahul Gandhi got actively criticized in social media. And his team had to, really do the brass tacks to defend Rahul Gandhi. Now, this is like a print interview. You don't get to see the man, You only get to understand the words.
All right. In fact, I've been told, and I hope you're third time lucky, Manoj Jha is with me on the phone line. Mr. Jha, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Jha, thank you so much for speaking to us on NewsX. Sir, your first response to Rahul Gandhi's latest interview.
I tell you, whatever I have found through the PTI interview, I believe that he had just given say what his own voice to what we have been saying. That, BJP produced a noise and they started believing the noise. The recent contradiction when you see high-level confusion amongst the leadership regarding seat or where to contest from, that shows that the party, which showed say a crafted confidence, it had no basis. I have just come from Bihar and I can tell you that whatever you hear about Namo wave or Narendra Modi wave, I'm sorry to say that is more in the electronic media, and that too in a certain section.
But Mr. Jha, you said you have come from Bihar. There's an issue of alliance in this interview. Rahul Gandhi in his interview has said that the Congress is finding a challenging election. Then he goes on to say that they are going to work with like-minded parties, and we aren't losing allies. But you look at the state of condition when it comes to the alliance partners. Barring two people, this party has no alliance partners, proper alliance partners.
I'll tell you, look, 2014 election has to be seen not in the perspective of 2004 or 2009.
Why?
There is absolute.
Why?
I'll tell you
why.
Can I just explain?
Yes.
You have seen absolute fragmentation in the political reality, and so that kind of fragmentation will have its presence on alliance or choice of alliances. But see the context of Bihar. In fact, with all the hurdles we have overcome, and now our alliance is doing fabulously well in Bihar. And wait for the right time. Many political parties are in touch with each other. They know that if the very possibility of India, if it has to be saved, it has to be protected.
Mr. Jha, I would just like you to intervene here a bit. We have JDU spokesperson Alok with us. Alok, if you can hear me, Rahul Gandhi had spoken on a lot of issues. He has spoken on Narendra Modi. He has spoken on inner-party democracy. He has spoken on the way alliance partners have to be handled with. But do you think that he really missed the bus by not going with your guy, by not going with your chief minister?
See, what Rahul Gandhi has spoken, as Rahul Gandhi wished to convey his people, as far as we go, we are neither in touch nor in clutch as the Congress. So, whatever he says, obviously, when he's leading the UK, he will say that the UK 3 will reform. So, we should all wait for the election results, what is going to happen after 16th May.
But you see, he has also spoken on the issue, on which your party had a position. He spoke on the ordinance issue, and he admits that perhaps he could have handled the decision or the issue in a way which would have not breached the protocol issues. When the Prime Minister got embarrassed, and the number of cabinet ministers got embarrassed when he junked the ordinance.
See, what he has done is complete an eye-opener. Once he cleared off the ordinance and then he allied up with Lalu Yadav, then he says that Lalu Yadav is an idea. The very antithesis of an idea is the name of Mr. Lalu Yadav, and he's aligning with them. Well, second, what the biggest issue for us is, in spite of all assurance, in spite of making the Raghudas Raman committee, the special status report has gone into on the cold fridge, just on the issue of alliance with Lalu Yadav. So this way, Congress has betrayed the people of Bihar, and we are not going to take it lightly. So whatever he says is absolutely his wish, but exactly what's going to happen, that will happen after 16th May.
Thank you, Mr. Alok, for being with us. And you see, there's another part of the interview, which is very, very relevant, is that Mr. Gandhi, goes on to say that his participation in the politics is not about elections, and he says, but elections are far from over, and we are geared for the tough battle. I'm confident there's going to be a Congress-led UPA 3.
All right, we'll have to wait for that to see whether Rahul Gandhi's promise comes true. But it's time for a short break. We'll be back in interview, this time to a leading wire service here. Some key points which I'll just read out. One, he says that the Congress is not an underdog and will surpass the 2009 tally in the Lok Sabha. He also says that the Congress's position alliance is very forthright, will work with like-minded parties to make them a reality. He also says that there will be a Congress-led UPA 3 and it would certainly not be an underdog here. But he also admits that the party could have certainly been more aggressive in conveying the government's achievements to the people. He says that the Congress is fighting a challenging election and that he is confident of the party winning it. He insists that unlike what Mr. P. Chidambaram might feel, the Congress party is not an underdog and will surpass the 2009 tally in the Lok Sabha. And he said that he will work with like-minded parties to make that a reality. Joining me is Executive Editor Karthik Sharma. Kartikeya, I'll come to you shortly, Kartikeya, but we're also getting a reaction right at this moment. Meenakshi Lekhi has just commented. Let's listen in.
इस देश की आजादी के समय पर ₹1 की कीमत $1 के बराबर थी और आज 64 और 65 रुपया $1 के बराबर है। मुझे किसी और आंकड़े को या कुछ और इनकी व्यवस्थाओं के विषय में कहने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। हमारा देश जिस ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी से त्रस्त था, आज वो भी किसी रूप में लगी हुई है काम करने पर और काला धन विदेशों में जमा किया जा रहा है और हमारे देश को गरीब रखा जा रहा है, जिसके लिए केवल और केवल ये पार्टी जिम्मेवार है, क्योंकि यही सत्ता में रहे हैं। गौरवान्वित भारत की गौरवान्वित जनता ने निर्णय लिया है कि वो गौरवान्वित भारत का भविष्य एक किसी सक्षम व्यक्ति के हाथ में देगी, जिसका नाम नरेंद्र मोदी है।
अब ठीक है, तो अगर कोई कम करके आंक रहा है तो इसमें देश की क्या गलती है? जैसी उनकी क्षमता है उसके अनुरूप लोग आंक रहे हैं और अगर लोगों का आंकना गलत होगा तो वो सिद्ध हो जाएगा जब चुनाव के नतीजे आएंगे।
Gaurav Bhatia from the Samajwadi Party is joining me on the phone line. Mr. Bhatia, appreciate your patience and thank you for joining us on NewsX. Your first response to Rahul Gandhi's confidence that a UPA 3 will be in power with an even greater majority.
It's more like a dream, I guess, which could never be fulfilled, because one thing is evident that the citizens of this country have completely discarded even UPA 2. UPA 2 has failed on all fronts. There has been a policy paralysis, a legislative paralysis, and, completely exposed in terms of corruption.
Mr. Bhatia, I've Kartikeya here. If I can just stop you for a minute. You have said that his idea of India, the sort of work the Congress has done, is being discarded by the electorate. Then how come your party extends the privilege to Gandhis and SP does not ensure that they are candidates to fight against two Congress candidates in Raebareli and Amethi? Why?
No, I will answer. First of all, it is very important that the Samajwadi Party has not entered into any alliance.
No, that's okay, sir. That's okay. My question is very simple. If you have such reservations against the policies of the Congress Party, then how come Samajwadi Party is extending the courtesy to two Congress President and Vice President? My question is very simple. If you have such reservations against the policies of the Congress Party, then how come Samajwadi Party is extending the courtesy to two Congress President and Vice President for the fountainhead in terms of ideology of the Congress Party? Why?
Why is it that the media has already decided that, whether there would be candidates fielded against the two leaders of the Congress or not? Because that decision will be taken by Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav, the national president of the party. As of now, that decision has not been taken. So therefore, I think the media itself is assuming.
But Mr. Bhatia, I find it extremely amusing that in a state which is the bastion of your party, you've decided you're not even going with the assumption that you're going to be fielding all candidates. Nalin Kohli from the BJP is with us on the phone line. Mr. Kohli, thank you for joining us on NewsX here. We have Mr. Gaurav Bhatia of the Samajwadi Party who says that there is going to be no truck between the Congress and the Samajwadi Party. Yet Rahul Gandhi says that he is going to reach out to like-minded parties as part of the next election. What is your response to that?
Well, I think it should come as no surprise to any one of us that the Samajwadi Party, the so-called Third Front, the Congress Party, the so-called UPA, extended UPA, are all one. Because eventually, if you look at it, this is a fixed match in the terminology of cricket. Everything is pre-decided. They have no agenda for governance. They have no responsibility and accountability for the misgovernance of the last 1 decade. The Samajwadi Party has extended support to the UPA. The Samajwadi Party is clear that they must help Rahul Gandhi ji and Sonia Gandhi ji win their elections. The Samajwadi Party is also formed a third front, which interestingly has many prime ministerial aspirants. So I'm curious, does the Samajwadi Party accept Nitish Kumar ji's claim that he would like to be the prime ministerial candidate himself? So all of this should come as no surprise. In the absence of an agenda for governance, which Mr. Modi represents, in the absence of an agenda for change, where people are joining Mr. Modi and the BJP in large numbers, all of these parties are trying to go against the mood of the nation and somehow keep themselves politically alive and politically relevant. So if Mr. Rahul Gandhi said...
Nalin Kartikeya, there is one reaction we would like to know from you. Rahul Gandhi, Nalin, says that there should be legal accountability for inexcusable failure of governance during 2002 riots under Narendra Modi. He says SIT report giving clean chit to Modi has been seriously questioned by a number of credible experts. Acceptance of flawed SIT report by the lowest court has not yet been subjected to scrutiny by higher courts. How does your party react?
Well, I mean, I'll say for the last 1 decade and a little over it, Mr. Modi has been the most vilified, the most investigated, the most, what you call person against whom legal cases have been mounted or attempts have been mounted through the judicial process, as not only as a human being and as a citizen of India, but more importantly as a chief minister. Never has there been such a major public, media, judicial scrutiny of a chief minister in this country for an incident which was unfortunate. Whatever have been the process that may have been, manipulated by the Congress at the center and its so-called friendly fronts, whether within the government or outside the government, Mr. Modi has come out unscathed.
Saying it's not a settled issue,
I'm giving 1 minute. Mr. Modi has come out unscathed. Now, after an SIT investigated by a former director of the CBI under the monitoring of the Supreme Court gives its report and does not find an iota of guilt against Mr. Modi, the process can continue as long as they want. But the fact is, law will take into cognizance evidence and the entire circumstances, and Mr. Modi is clean. So, I mean, the Congress and its allies have no agenda for governance. They only have an agenda of negativity to somehow prevent Mr. Modi.
All right, fair enough. Thank you so much, Nalin Kohli and Gaurav Bhatia of the Congress and the SP, of the BJP and the SP respectively, for giving your views to us on NewsX. Kartikeya, what do you make, or what do you, according to you, was the biggest takeaway that came out from this interview?
You see, for me, the biggest takeaway has been that Rahul has directly hit out at Narendra Modi. There was an analogy of Hitler he gave.
Absolutely.
There's an analogy of love and hatred he gives. But, this is like as straight as you can get. For Rahul Gandhi to say specific allegations pointing to Modi's responsibility in the riots yet to be adequately proved. Very strong statement. Acceptance of flawed SIT report by lowest court has not yet been subjected to a scrutiny by higher courts. Extremely strong statement. And he has questioned the process or the so-called judicial process on which the BJP claims defense. And he says that there should be legal accountability for inexcusable failure of governance during 2002 riots under Narendra Modi, which means that he is of the opinion that the issues can be reopened. He is of the opinion that, there can be a different legal route to get back to this issue of 2002 Gujarat riots. I think this is the biggest takeaway.
Absolutely.
Following with the fact that he wants to hold elections for Congress Working Committee. Maybe it's a rhetoric, maybe it's a statement. If he can does it, then he'll achieve the, he'll do a paddle with Narasimha Rao. But the fact of the matter is, it's a direct hit at Narendra Modi, and he has given a message to the seniors of the Congress party that he's going to run the party his way, and it's going to be his way or the highway.
But from what I understand, it's going to be more of a stock-taking and damage control exercise which Rahul Gandhi is already looking at, despite this assertion that the Congress party is not an underdog.
That's a good point, Ritanshu, because that's a very good point. I would like to stop you here. That's a very good point. His criticism for the last interview was more on the format.
Absolutely.
It was more on the format, the way he did the TV interview. One before that came in a leading national newspaper. That was a print interview. I think going back again to the print, he's trying also to recover the ground, because maybe he could have gone back to another TV interview. But I think the way he's trying to space things out is to reclaim the agenda that he has lost. Rahul Gandhi is dominating a lot of optics in terms of the closed-door interactions, which is open to media to be publicized, but not for scrutiny. You can't ask questions there because you only have live transmission. So I think he's trying to set the agenda keeping in mind the pace he can afford. I think that's the bottom line.
But again, there has been no vision for what the UPA 3 is planning to bring to the table. It's very little of an election campaigning based on what my understanding is, more of a stock-taking exercise of where the Congress has gone wrong and where he would like the Congress party to go right in the future.
I think to be fair to Rahul Gandhi, you see, one can question Rahul Gandhi on a number of issues. To be really fair to him, he's inheriting a system. He's inheriting it, he wants to change it, but he himself is a dynast. He's product of the whole superstructure. But the fact of the matter is that Rahul Gandhi cannot be held responsible for the, the dual power structure which existed between Sonia Gandhi and Dr. Manmohan Singh. So he will have to be evaluated on the things he has done. He was criticized for tearing apart the ordinance. But I think, he cannot be criticized for the inheritance of past 10 years.
Fair enough.
So I think that's the leeway we'll have to give it to Rahul.
All right, another point which has come out, Karthikeya, it's been discussed over the past 12 months in detail. It's as Rahul's political immaturity. It first came up when he went ahead with his entire ordinance bombshell, severely compromising the honor and the prestige to the Prime Minister's chair. It also came when he tried to bulldoze these ordinances through at the close of the budget session last month. And to the embarrassment of the Congress party, it turned out that there was no legality in which these ordinances could have been passed in bulk here. Once again, he has now come out and made some very scathing observations against his party, which have been in public, and it's only going to put the Congress party in an embarrassed spot. The fact that that he and the Congress party and the government were not on board on the same page when it came to the Lokpal bill, the fact that he has completely trashed and snubbed P. Chidambaram on a public forum, it's not going to do very favors. They are not going to project the Congress.
There are a couple of issues which are absent. Just to put it on record,
Okay.
This is the third time there is no issue of Mr. Vadra. It's completely absent. That's that's a very close charge of the Gandhi family in terms of corruption. That's completely absent. He has not spoken on the issue of why government failed to pass the ordinances. What happened? Is the government of the view that the office of the president is not cooperating with them? These are tough political questions. Ultimately, when the news came in the papers, it was that Pranab Mukherjee was opposed to it. But nonetheless, I would say that he has also not explained a couple of issues as to why he didn't speak much in the 10 years he was the MP. He has defended himself that he was part of the process of making the legislations. But I think the criticism for Rahul Gandhi has been that he did not participate when it happened, except 2 or 3 occasions. But nonetheless, I think it's an improvement. If you look at his first interview, if you look at his second interview, the improvement here is that he has addressed actually a number of issues. And thank God, he has not, spoken ad nauseum about Panchayati Raj. Everyone knows that, he feels very passionately about it. But, there are other questions on which media and people are really interested to know as to what he thinks about them. So, he has stayed away from that 73rd Amendment debate because he has addressed it in depth in a lot of the places and actually dealt with issues of inner party democracy or the elections in the CWC and other issues on which the people are interested.
Indeed. So, Karthikeya, as the last word, how would you grade Rahul Gandhi's third attempt to set the record straight in front of the media? There have been 2 attempts, one in the print media, one in TV. The TV, by common consensus, was a disaster. Do you feel Rahul has made a significant improvement when it comes to at least communicating his views, if not the party's views, to the media?
I think, if I have to say, I'll give it like 60%. Because the play of an interview or the power of an interview is setting the agenda.
Absolutely.
And when the person who is giving the interview sets the agenda. So I think that's what is missing in this interview. He has questioned a lot of things on the lines of the party. And he has said it pretty bluntly when it comes to Narendra Modi or the inner party democracy issues. But there are issues on which Rahul Gandhi will have to set the agenda. He wants to set the agenda. He set the agenda for land acquisition bill. He set the agenda for certain issues on Lokpal. But I think he needs to set the agenda for his own rival. I think that's what is required. But nonetheless, I think it's best of the 3 which we have seen.
All right. So better than the rest, but still not good enough to tackle with others. That's the message that seems to become. Thank you so much, Karthikeya, for joining us and breaking down what seems to be a very insightful interview.